Good evening to you peeps, Liesl here again, and this evening I'm delighted to be bringing to you the very latest stage in our rather awesome full electric Diddley Bow build. So check out this bad boy. I decided that we'd go big on this and probably add quite a lot of embellishments, because I thought the nature of the box and everything being quite fancy and all that, it was worth doing. So one or two things to get through. One or two little discoveries I've made this week doing this one. So I think that's worth a mention. And less waffle from me. So yeah, basically, I think last time we basically got to the stage where we're about to drill the holes. Right, that's the one at the top for the machine head or tuning pegs. And actually I've got that upside down. So that's the one for the tuning pegs. Catch up, Liesl. It's late here. And at the bottom, well, basically the saddle really, to receive the string and to stop it pulling through, so that when we've got it on the body, everything's nice and secure. It'll start to look a little bit more sort of diddly bow shaped. And as usual, I can't slot it in place, but there we go. And have something a little bit more like this on the way. And there she is, looking lovely. And I'm going to show you some easy ways that I did this. Yeah, so we filed it flat, didn't we, on the back, basically to get the peg in there, and a little bit of shaping on the front. I do think when they stand a little proud of the front, it's good on a diddley bow, because you're going over quite a large nut. You know, you may have your own preferences on that. You don't really need to take an awful lot of material off here if you don't want to. I do find that the worms generally just too shallow, say if you just drilled a hole straight through, so you need to take a little off there. But that's a useful thing to know, because we'll be doing a bit more of that later, and I will show you. If you did want to see the holes drilled, that's fine, because I'll be doing the same on the canjo in the next video, and we can pick up one or two bits from there. Now, one thing I did think definitely is worth a mention is it can be difficult, you know, to line this hole up, because you're on the back and you've got this prong here, which I think is called the worm. And you're kind of trying to find the centre and trying to find draw around the ends of that. But what I have here is basically one of these. It's slightly different type with this bit missing. So here's an old machine head that fell apart. And you can see the pole would have gone through that middle bit. But it makes an excellent template to just put on the back of your broom handle, and you can just line that up. Obviously you can draw around that centre circle, and then it's all lined up, and you've not got to try and fiddle about working out where the middle part is. And just keep that in your guitar box. I've got 2 or 3 of them knocking around actually, but yeah, save an awful lot of time. And we do have this rather funky, very nice red machine head. Now this is the screw-in type. It's slightly wider there. I don't know what it is, if it's about 1/4 inch or something, I really don't know. And it has one little lug there just to hold it in place, basically. If you haven't seen these, on the back of the neck. So yeah, there you go. This one will be pointing downwards. You can have it pointing upwards or downwards, basically because that's the one that I had. So it's pointing downwards rather than upwards. What I do like about downward pointing though is when you're playing the diddley bow, because it will go out of tune a bit sometimes. As you slide up to the end, it's quite easy just to tune the peg. Whereas if it's pointing upwards, you've kind of got your arm up here like this doing it. Not that you need to, but I think that's just a good little selling point anyway. So there it is. And yeah, you know that, as we know, that simply couples, try saying that one, couples into there. Screw it in on the back. And that does line up pretty nicely. Have the gear pointing downwards, as we know, right? So there's no tension on it. And away you go. With some of them, you may find that kind of doesn't quite line up, but you can always have it at a slight angle if you want, if that's the case, as long as it's not wildly off. It's not really going to make a difference with the Diddley Bow. So that's basically sorted out for the tuning peg. Moving on, if we go to the bottom part, yeah, obviously the string's going to go through there, and we want to make sure it doesn't pull through that fairly large hole. I think that's about 4mm. And I'm sure we did see in one video where basically we took a rivet and knocked the pin out, so you've got this little coupling, and as if by magic there is one that you can put the string through. Now, if you didn't see that, best way to do that is to hold this part in a pair of pliers, quite a good strong pair, and don't just hit it as I did once, holding it in your hand, because you're going to hit your thumb. Actually rest the pliers on the edge of your bench or something like that with those gripped, and just one good tap with a hammer, that pin will drop out, leaving us with our little sort of ferrule grommet thing, which obviously will simply slip into the back like so, and that will take your string. Now, as you can see on the front, it might cut into there a little bit. If it's quite a fat pole, you can use 2 rivets, but I have noticed sometimes with these that they might be a bit too long and knocked together. And one wonderful little discovery I did make on Amazon, but you see these on the market and everything, is these little eyelets that I've got here, and these are 4mm. You can use that in conjunction with the rivet head. So to try and show you a little bit better, put the rivet through the back in there. This will still slot in the front with plenty of room to spare. I think she says as it falls on the floor. But you get the picture, don't you? Just stick that in there like that and glue it in. Wow, I give up on that, but anyway, you get the idea. Just glue that in with a little bit of Araldite, or a drop of super glue or anything like that, really, just to secure it in place. Let it dry off, and then we have something of a Diddley Bow neck ready to go onto the body. Now, I do remember that we used a 25mm spade bit, because they come in funny sizes, you know. I think these do vary in diameter anyway, but that's about 1 inch, isn't it? 25mm, and this is about 7/8, I think. Not really sure, but I did say that I'd explain how we lock it all together, and I'll show you now. So basically, you can see inside, I made a couple of little supports, bearing in mind that we're using the back as the front, and it'll be the other way around if it's the other way around, but I won't confuse matters in here. I just made a couple of little supports that kind of line up flush with the bottom of these holes. And yeah, so we can put our neck in there. Bearing in mind it is on the upside down, and as we know, they're still pretty wobbly, which is pretty good though, because you want a bit of wiggle room when we're fitting these electrics in the front. Now, I was kindly donated actually some cigar box trinkets, as I call them, accessories, by Bob in our community, so thanks Bob for these. And this sort of very funky wire mesh sound hole came with a dobro. There were like 2 of them, but I've got probably 2 or 3 now. So I thought we could use this as an extra sound hole for our Bad-Boi Diddley Bow, and I just thought it kind of lent to this one. You know, it's got that sort of funky sound look about it. I don't know, maybe it's just me. And so obviously, and again, I don't have one to hand, but to cut that hole I used a hole cutter. If you're not familiar with them, it's just like a fat drill bit with a circle of teeth, like saw teeth. Quick check on Google or Amazon and you'll see these. I was going to dig one out to show you, but everything's buried in the bottom of my toolbox and I just couldn't get to them. So basically, here's several pieces of cigar box that I've used a hole cutter to cut out. And it's worth saving these because there's 1,000,001 uses with these. You can even make little clamps with these, which I'm going to try at some point, and if they're any good I'll show you how I did it. But the beauty of these is, so I cut one out here. You can use them to make inlays for the inside of the box. So a round piece like this. And we want to support this and secure it so it's not wobbling around anymore. So basically I took one of these and with another hole cutter, which is 1 inch in diameter, so 25mm, I cut the centre out to give us basically this O-ring, and then obviously just chop that in half, and we've got these 2 semicircular supports. I thought that was quite a natty idea, because we can insert those in here. I don't know how I'm going to show you really, but you get the idea. Is like they'll go in on the top. There you go, like a little rainbow really, with the pole on the bottom. Bearing in mind it's all going to be that way round, and then once they're in, you can actually always drill a couple of little pilot holes if you're screwing into these, because otherwise they just split or they go the wrong way or the screws bend. So we'll drill a couple of little pilot holes in here, and then we can drill those into the neck, screw them, sorry, into the neck, and that'll keep that nice and secure. It ain't going anywhere then, mate. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Jolly good. I know, yeah, you're keeping up. That's brilliant, because I don't know how well I'm explaining any of this, but anyway, we'll continue. I did notice when I was cutting this one out, actually, I think there's a thin layer of wood, but there's quite a lot of cardboard material in there as well. Or like a kind of MDF, like very dense kind of chip fibre board or something. I think it's only card, so like, yeah, you know, it hasn't set me off or anything, so that's fine. You still get a really good sound out of these. And they're always different, you know, depending on which cigar box it is really. I've noticed that with these, but as we know, you get quite a nice sound. And all I was going to mention though is it's still really easy to sand, just like plywood or anything like that. And it did come in very handy because, as I also said last time, nearly there, don't worry. We need to drill the little aperture. It's basically going to receive this really nice little single coil pickup. Now you'll see that sort of shaping at the bottom. It's kind of that shape. Okay. Quite often these go in from the top, and you have to kind of hook that bit underneath, which can be a little bit tricky. But the beauty of this is that it comes up from underneath, and you can just bolt it in, and especially using the deep part as the front. I was concerned we might need to take a little bit of material out of the neck, because obviously if you take too much it could weaken the neck, although I've never had a problem there with a Diddley Bow. But actually there is quite a nice large gap there, and having done a quick measurement, we might need to skim like a 1/16 or an 1/8 of an inch off the top of the neck here, but that's fine, and that's not going to do it any harm whatsoever. So being that it is this lovely sort of rounded shape at the end, our usual method, I thought I drew round it, obviously measuring the box to get the middle, and then just put the pole in to see that everything lines up, which it did. You draw around that freehand, but you can actually make sure it's level by going in with a square and just squaring off the edges of it. And those holes I just drilled using a 10mm drill bit. So simply measured it, it's about 4 holes deep. And yeah, then really all you've got to do is knock those out. I mean, it's pretty easy. You could use a craft knife if you want. I always use a chisel. And in with this cardboardy sort of material, I had a little bit of this on a different box. It's fine when you file it. It actually goes the same as wood. And it actually screws into that really nicely. So I don't think we're going to have any problem there. Like I say, I'll just go in with a chisel, take this part out, simply file it, and yeah, we can then put this in place. It screws up from underneath on these little lugs here. It's pre-soldered because, as you know, I'm no expert with solder, and I need to get a new soldering iron anyway. Mine's had it, but I mainly use it for wood burning these days because it's only a cheap one. So I do have a lovely double humbucker in here though that I need to solder myself. So I'm going to be getting around to that one soon, hopefully. I've been watching a few videos just to get it in my mind how it's done, you know. It's a bit of a process, but like anything, I think once you've learned it, you've learned it, you know. So hopefully anyway, in the future, something more of that. But I'm going with this pre-soldered one for now, and I haven't tested it yet, but it looks okay. So hopefully it'll work, and I'll make sure it works before we put it inside the box. And yeah, so that's it so far. I was going to crack on with this, but I didn't want to until I'd shown you all these bits. That's the thing we're doing. Things for YouTube, you kind of have to try and remember not just to go racing ahead and miss bits out. But like I say, I think I've covered every conceivable angle. If I haven't, then I've forgotten, and do apologise. But if you have any questions, as you well know, put them in the comments. And if I think of anything, I'll put it in the comments or on a community post, or I'll do another video so that we can talk through all that one. So there it is so far. I think we're probably about halfway on this one. Probably one more video will cover the end of the build. I'll be able to show you everything a lot better as well then, once it's secured into place. But again, I didn't want to do the neck and stick it inside the box because we still might need to shave just a little bit off of here. And trying to do that when it's inside the box. I mean, I've tried it before on upgrades and it's like, sorry, it's, oh, don't bother. Don't bother is my opinion on that. So yeah, that's basically it for tonight, folks. And I hope you enjoyed that. So, you know, if you have made it to the end, thank you ever so much for sticking with me. It does mean a lot. If you watch this video, thanks, because I was keen to actually do this one and get it on tonight, as I will be up early in the morning finishing off one or two of these instruments, hopefully, and one or two other things that I will show you that I just haven't had time to, basically, but I think they'll be interesting. So yeah, we'll crack on with some of that, hopefully in a video coming very soon. So as always, peeps, wherever you are and whatever you're doing, do stay safe. Stay blessed, absolutely. And most important of all, keep building. Okay then, peeps. Bye for now. Bye.